All right, guys, thanks so much for listening to the CX Chronicles podcast. Tom, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me, bro. Appreciate
Absolutely, man. So, full candor, guys, before we hop into this one, an interesting connection. Tom and my cousin Jeffrey played football together in college at Monmouth University. So, this is going to be a fun one today. We have a different type of connection here, Tom.
Yeah, no, it's definitely great. I'm happy he got to connect us, and I'm happy to be on, and I appreciate it. We had a good time. Call him Brady. So, call him Brady.
So this is a really cool show today. Tom has an awesome business. Tom is the founder and CEO of Today's Business in New Jersey. And Tom, I want to let you grab the microphone, sir, and jump right into it. Why don't you start off how we start off all these shows? Give the CX Nation your couple-minute elevator pitch around how you got to where you are today and how you came about starting Today's Business.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy story. Pretty much I would say this. I'm 10 years into the thing. It's been a crazy 10 years. It's feel like a lifetime, not going to lie, but I did have a very different road to entrepreneurism than most people. I was very fortunate enough that after my Monmouth football career, I had a not for long NFL career, and that's why I feel like my NFL career really stand for is like I think I played in the NFL a total of 5 days,
Okay.
but I had a passion and a drive that I knew like I just didn't want to be average. So I felt as if I was fortunate enough to come from a family of entrepreneurs. My parents are immigrants from Italy. Came here and built an awesome business in Livingston, New Jersey. I learned from early on like what hard work was and what going to work really meant to do and how to earn a dollar because everything from when I was little to still to this day has never truly been handed to me. But more importantly, I would say just the opportunities were always there and you had to take advantage of them. So having that from early on, I knew I didn't want to kind of go work in the family business. I felt as if I put half the effort into trying to play in the NFL that I did to my own business. And I was passionate about marketing, that I'd be successful. But I wouldn't be successful doing it by myself. So I knew I had to build a team. And, 10 years ago in a basement to above my family's restaurant, we were very fortunate to, really build a truly special company to where we're around a 30-person organization. We are a full service digital marketing agency. We truly do everything from website development, design, search engine optimization. We have a great creative department. We can handle all of your paid media on any channel on the internet. I would say we have a second to none social media department. That was kind of our grassroots and how we got into it. And we can go into the history of the company a little bit later on. And most recently, we've been very fortunate enough to work with a lot of awesome direct-to-consumer brands in managing their affiliate programs and really help amplify, I'd say their online, PR. And we've been very fortunate enough to really dive into and be on the forefront of not only the affiliate marketing, e-commerce like growth, but also, making our name and our presence in the influencer and athlete marketing space too. So it's been really awesome.
That's fantastic, man. That's so. First of all, just a super cool space to get into. Couple things right off the bat, man, that I want to dive into. Tom, I think you are officially one of the first athlete guests I think that we've had on the CX Chronicles podcast, and it's funny because we start every one of these episodes with just asking people how did they get to where they are with running whatever facet of whatever business they're running. You've got this athlete path, and I think what's interesting that you immediately one of the first places that you sort of went when you talked about starting Today's Business, getting your company going, getting your company up and running, you mentioned team like immediately. You literally said it right away. So it sets us up to jump right into the first pillar of team. I'd like to kind of trek back and how did you know, was it from years of playing football, being in a locker room, being around like the team? Was it that type of thing that made you know right away that if you got started with building a squad or building like a cornerstone group, that you could carry more weight? Or was it something different? Was it that you knew that you needed a little bit of help with specific areas to be able to get Today's Business to where in your head you knew you could eventually bring it in the future?
Yeah, listen, I would say, what we've done over the last year in our company, just in general, changing up how we operate in general, just because of the world that we have to live in, right?
Totally, yeah.
I would say I relied more on my team building experiences from the past in sport that I ever have. I was very it's crazy to say this, but I was very fortunate to not have much team success in football. Even at Monmouth, to one of my days at Hofstra, we were always there. Like we were almost turned the corner. We might have needed to do one or two things differently to turn that corner. But like Hofstra flat out canceled the football program. Monmouth, I was there for 1 year, so we didn't have another year to play. So like those things weren't able to be corrected.
Yep.
Even you go back to my high school wrestling days and I look at like my personal experience more like, on a team level, we had a tremendous amount of success. On a personal level, like I had a decent amount of success, but I knew there was things I could have done to have ultimate success.
Sure.
Capability of doing it. So I would say more recent than not, I've really relied on those experiences to help teach that meaning or correct that, because, when you're building a program, and I was very fortunate enough to be around awesome head coaches in all avenues, from my high school wrestling coach that was like my grandfather, God rest his soul, to my Hofstra football coach. We might not have success on the field, or this was his first head coaching job, but he was a great person to build that layer. And like, we were almost there. If we had another chance,
sure.
We had the team, the mentality, and then I went to like where I really truly learned how to be wholeheartedly how to be a true CEO is at Monmouth. At Monmouth University, and Coach Kevin Callahan, he stands for the epitome of how to run and operating a team for a long time. And what he's built there, he built a program there.
Yeah.
And I saw from the players to the coaches. I mean, there's assistant coaches there that have been there for like 20, 30 plus.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, Jeffrey and Brady talk about it all the time, but like that was where I saw like, wow, he can finally have things on all cylinders. And like, look what, like, I think like when I got to notice where he was like putting those pieces together, you are now truly seeing the success Monmouth is having at the level that they're having it at. Since we've left. And I'm excited about it. And so to answer your question, it does like attribute a lot, but you have to like, I was also personally able to experience the ups and downs of businesses of all angles at such a very young age that like, you notice those things. It gives me like, when you're in it, like I would never be able to think about this 5 years ago. But now that I do have a team, now you're always trying to optimize. Like now that we built the foundation, now the next level of our company, like we've made it through the first 10 years. Digital marketing is not going anywhere. We just have to evolve with it if we want to still play in the game that we're playing with. Like I wasn't able to do that as a startup entrepreneur. I tried everything, threw shit at the wall and saw it stuck. But I did say like, I try to set a strong foundation, just even the way I operated on a daily basis.
Yep. I think that's awesome, man. I think there's two major points that you called out that the listener needs to be thinking about. Number one, you mentioned leadership, right? When you were going back to just some of the cornerstone principles of what you were able to pick up or learn at your Monmouth University experience. You mentioned leadership is one. I think that is, look, there's a handful of examples where companies can blow up to be huge and maybe leadership wasn't a big part of it, but most times that's not the case at all. When you look at success cases, successful businesses, successful teams, successful organizations, leadership's usually one of the major things that puts them in a position to where they can find that success and where they can build some of these really, really important fundamentals to grow on. So I think that's awesome. Tom, I'd love for you to kind of talk a little bit about the team, today's business at your shop. You mentioned, so you've got all of these different facets of digital marketing you get into. You spent a couple minutes talking about some of the folks that are working and building today's business.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a hell of a ride. I'm very fortunate enough to we have a strong core that's been with us since pretty much we started. I was very, very fortunate enough to have partners and people around me to help, get us to where we are and continue to grow to where we're going, and I say like this, I mean, the team members at today's business, for a long time, we really didn't, we were just light the world on fire. Let's fucking go non-stop, not like no matter what happened. And we did. Listen, I mean, we had a hell of a ride doing it. But that was fun to start up. That's what you got to do to start a company. Like, people don't realize that. Like, you can go raise all the money you want, but if you aren't going 180 miles an hour all the time, and you're not living in your business and you're working part-time here, like, ask every freelancer that wants to start their own company.
Big time.
If they don't go to it and they don't scale it, 5 years later, that freelancer who started its own digital marketing company or went on this and that and third, 5 years later, if they didn't scale it properly, they're working at another agency.
That's absolutely right.
So
Exactly.
I've seen it so many times. And to be honest with you, I think that's where we were very fortunate, is that we kept on evolving. And, I would say this, we lit the world on fire. We went after it. We threw shit at the wall. We tried everything. Truly about 3.5 years ago, we sat back and said, okay, like, we want to be here for another 10 years.
Yep.
This has been done before. We're not the only, if you talked to me 5 years ago, I was the only person that did digital marketing. Nobody, like, I was the only person building a company. It went my way. I was the best CEO, blah, blah. And honestly, God, the biggest question I always evaluate on a daily basis sometimes is, am I a good CEO? Am I doing those things? So I think recently we've been able to put people in positions to be the most successful at their job by just focusing on what they're really good at.
Yeah, I love that, man.
And not trying to spread them too thin. It's craziness. We're an agency. Like, things are always nuts. It's always it seems like, speaking of lighting things on fire, like, it always seems like there's things on fire because we're putting out fires all day long when you're dealing with the types of clients that we're dealing with. So I think we've not only dug down to the type of person we want to recruit to be part of this team, which now has been drastically changing because of the world that we live in. I mean,
totally.
I'm sitting in a 6,000 square foot office right now that I'm currently, as we talked even previously,
in
the process of moving. That's why there's nothing on the walls besides a little picture. Moving into a smaller office because we can't interact.
Right.
Like, that was the camaraderie. That's how we built the team camaraderie here at today's visit. Now that's not available to us. So we're truly evaluating the type of people we have here. But I've been very fortunate enough to have some, I have a strong business partner who's, a digital genius. He's probably the most versatile digital marketing strategist that I've been around the last 10 years, and I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot. He can speak to a lot of different angles, and he'd be great one person you interview on this. And I have a strong operational team. We've really been trying to put those processes in place that will help us, be a little bit more scalable.
Yep.
Like you mentioned, the word scalable, it's not the biggest thing, but it's more optimized.
Totally. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, if you don't look to scale, you're never going to really look to optimize your current process. So it's something that it's like, you want to stay status quo, then you have to look to cut and be more profitable that way. Like, there's certain things you want to do, but I think that's like a big piece here, is that we're trying to find the right people, trying to recruit the right type of person that really wants to get their hands dirty, not afraid to get their hands dirty, but people that want to work.
Yep. I love that, Tom. That's awesome. Tom, let's jump into the second pillar, tools. So with building a digital marketing agency and having all these different subject matter expert areas that you're helping your clients, helping your business, these different business accounts you're working with, can you spend a couple minutes talking about tools? And last thing is, you just mentioned the remote piece too. And I know me and you were joking about this the other day when we were on a call, but can you just spend some time talking about sort of the tools that you needed to build your business, but then also how's that evolved as over these last 8-9 months, we've all been moved, to a remote setting with your team probably working from all over right now.
They are working from all over. There's currently one other person in this office with me. That's 6,000 square feet, and they just got here now. But there's never anybody here. But everybody is working remotely. But yeah, no. Listen, we know we spoken about like the other day, but I think the very, very important piece that people don't realize is what is available to us from a technology standpoint, from a small business side all the way to large $100+ million companies. And
Sure.
And people don't understand that, like, everybody says that you're in sales, you need to operate it, you need to have a CRM. But what does that mean? Everybody says that you have a team, you need to have a project management software. But what does that mean? Everybody says that you're in this, you need to have, you need to have a payroll system. But what does that entail? What does that mean?
Yep.
You need to have bank accounts, but anyway, you should, like, I would say this, one thing we definitely evaluated was what we call our tech stack.
Okay.
And what we call our tech stack is showing in every department, but more importantly, on how we operate the entire company. We've spent a lot of time, money, and effort on optimizing that tech stack by trying different things and making the company be more cohesive team, meaning communication is a big problem in the millennial generation.
Yeah,
All millennials, I mean, communicating in a proper way, projects like task-oriented stuff.
totally. Yep.
Well, we took a real true deep dive into what we had as our tech stack. To be honest with you, 4 years ago, we had none. So we started by organizing. And when you start to find that you need to organize, and then you need to find things after that.
Absolutely.
So from the organization standpoint, it started to trickle down after that. So what we did was we noticed that all of our, from documents, passwords, client information, everything was like all over the place. So, okay, we're going to implement an ERP system.
Okay.
Found out that you Google ERP, you're like, what the hell is this? Blah, blah, blah. Like, what the hell is this? But I know it's a great place for
Yeah.
organizing data, right?
Right.
So we looked at a lot of solutions, from the most expensive to the cheapest, and we just felt as if didn't fit our needs. So what we did was we seeked out a consultant, and we utilized a kind of a blank canvas one in QuickBase.
Okay.
And it's an Intuit product. It's very data driven, but it also gave us the capabilities of customizing to what fit our business the best.
Yep.
So from there, we really looked at how do we evaluate employees? Again, I don't know if you want to bring anything up.
What's that?
No, sorry about that. I thought you were going to say something. So
No. Keep going. Please go. Keep going.
So once we organized everything, we were like, okay, how are we going to evaluate what people are doing? So we looked at project management softwares.
Okay.
And every type of project management software there was. Very early on in our company, we started working with we started utilizing a project management software, but we never utilized it to its full capabilities. And we're like, hey, you know what? Let's see what we already have. And that's teamwork. We saw what it was. We saw that we just weren't using it properly, and it had all the things that we wanted, and it's extremely cost effective. So we stripped the company from the top down, operationally, from business development all the way down to like every department I brought up before.
Yep.
When we built process and procedures of how we go operating a current client through teamwork.
Love it.
And that took a long time, and it's still an ever evolving process. It switched probably 3 or 4 different times, but we committed to building out the teamwork project aspect of things. So now, I could sit here today. I'm not saying it's the most optimized side of things, but like I can go on our company but these things have helped where we are today.
Oh, I bet.
In the world that we started doing these 3 years ago. So now it was more about like kind of going it from like year 3 of the project to year 10 and being optimal, because we truly just have to run our company at it.
I was going to ask Tom, I was going to say, was there like a certain point as you guys were building the business and you were kind of growing up to that 30 plus person mark, was there a specific point where everything that you're talking about, the tool stack, and then just the ability to like have to actually think about processes and playbooks and things like that, just to run the damn tool stack, was there a certain point when the team started getting to a certain level that those things became really, really important?
Yeah, when you start looking at your margins.
Right.
When you start looking at the actual business. I brought on people to help me evaluate the business in a better manage. Like, I definitely I do a lot more delegating and conversations, and I'm on the phone, and rather than reviewing documents and giving my comments on documents, actually writing a whole document. When I write a whole document, people don't want to see it. I'm not the best at grammar. But anyway, it's given us the ability to measure what the effectiveness of every employee is, to help us know when we need to grow, when we can't grow. We had a problem with like retention of certain types of a certain level of employee,
okay,
as well as we had a problem with clients. Like we had a lot of things hitting us in the face that we're like, oh shit, we have to really look at this, because I don't know if this is going to be sustainable for us to take to the next level.
Yep.
So our margins started, and at the same time, like we went from interns to full-time employees.
Sure.
You talk about evolution of when you're paying. If I looked at like what I paid employees 10 years ago to what I pay people now, it's night and day.
It's a different story. No, I'm glad you brought that part up, Tom, because a lot of folks that are listening to the show right now that are either building or scaling their teams or their businesses, you just called out a huge one, man. In the very beginning, to build a team or to build a base or to get people to come help you or to get things done. You got all this stuff that's going on. It can be tricky. It's like, I know in my case with building CXC, it's me and it's by myself trying to figure out how to put things together. With you as you're and your partner trying to figure out how to get things together and pull together a team. And what ends up happening is over time, as your business grows, as you bring on more customers, as you bring on more accounts, as you get more credibility just in the market space in general, your ability to attract a different type of talent, people that come with different types of experiences. Yeah, they cost more because they're great people, they're great talent, but that's also when something starts to click with most businesses, right? Something starts to happen. You get more traction, and you have a lot more. It seems like there's more energy behind pushing towards the goals.
Yeah, and also at the same time, to be completely transparent, to give your listeners some like that world has changed too.
Yeah.
Now, so like you're attracting a certain type of person, but now you need to attract a person that can operate remotely. Like some people just can't operate remotely. Some people are like they're home, they're doing things when like, we try to work within it like a time frame. I mean, you just have to. It's a whole different world.
Yeah.
Like we've committed. Like the evolution of today's business is that we've committed to be operating the company in a remote environment. All right, so we committed to that. So we're building the company around being able to
Love it.
We are currently evaluating the key players that are in our company to see if that they're going to fit that bill, because we for so long, like, yes, you were right. Like we had a lot of people come through these doors that, like this is, we work in technology, but we weren't a tech startup. We had that sex appeal, but we weren't one. We didn't raise a ton of capital. We weren't that company. Like we didn't go out, do a song and pony dance and hire these people. We were young kids trying to make a buck and trying to make an impact on the industry. And we made, now we're at a point where it's like, okay, we're committed to operating remotely. Now we have to operate the individuals a certain standpoint. The data that we're getting from these processes and these things that we put in there are more important now than they were 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Me understanding, like me getting an evaluation, getting a teamwork report, knowing, okay, for instance, this week is payroll. Well, money's coming out of our account, if I like it or not, on Friday, or on Wednesday, shall I say. And Friday, everybody gets paid. But if I go back and look at someone only logged 4 hours of time, but they got paid for, 80 hours of work, it just, now, in this environment, before I'm like, oh, no, that like shit. That person is a hustler, bro. They don't know how to do this, or maybe they weren't taught properly, but like you hear them on the phone all day long. You hear them answering emails, talking to people. You don't have that anymore.
Yeah, it's gone. It's on trust. It's on Zoom chats like this. Yep.
So like, if I can't get the company or people to start to adapt that, it's a whole different employee you're trying to attract.
Yeah. Yep.
I read an article the other day that like the future is like everybody's going to have to operate like an independent contractor.
I agree with that. It's this notion of the freelance the freelance nation, or like the shared work nation. It's growing every day.
But imagine having to be the person that, does all the strings, all the contractors. You're running a completely different business.
Yeah.
I would have very hard times to have like that cohesiveness in certain avenues. So, our model for the future, we're going to try to get people to be together or collaborative as much as possible. The Zoom thing, I'm not even I'm a fan of. I love doing it. But like, man, I'm so zoomed out right now.
I know.
I don't mind just hopping on a conference call anymore, because that was my prior. Like I had if you saw my phone usage on a weekly basis, it was like through the roof.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. It's just more important about understanding the data you now are getting, because you have to operate completely different now.
I love it. I love it. So Tom, you called out a bunch of awesome things around team, tools, and process. As we get ready to wrap up today's episode, I definitely want to pick your brain on the fourth and final CX pillar of feedback. So the other day when we were talking about, one of the interesting things about building and scaling a digital marketing agency is a lot of the work that you guys are doing for your customers and for your clients. It revolves around understanding some of the feedback that you're getting about their business, about their brand, about the things that they're offering in a product and a service basis. Can you spend a couple minutes talking about feedback as it relates to some of the work that you guys do for your customers at today's business?
Yeah, I mean, so we kind of handle it. We get to touch in probably 3 different areas. I would say I'd break it down in 3 different areas. We have customer feedback, or shall I say, our customer feedback is our client.
Yep.
Right? So
okay.
I'm gonna categorize them as our partner. So our partner right? The advertiser, the client, the
Yep.
partner, like they give us feedback on multiple things. They give
Okay.
us feedback on our communication with them, how they operate. We also ask them like how they like to operate in the
Sure.
beginning of our onboarding process, so we can adapt our processes to them. They give us feedback on our strategy, right? On like what we suggest them do for like their budgets.
Yep.
Then we get feedback on like our analytical portion, our reporting,
Nice.
like,
Yeah.
like on the results that we get from things that we've done. So that's like the partner feedback. Then we go to a whole nother bucket. I'm gonna say the customer feedback,
Okay.
like the consumer. So a lot of the brands that we work with are very consumer facing. They're not necessarily B2B. So they're consumer in some sort of capacity, whether it's a real estate multifamily apartment building trying to advertise to a renter,
Yep.
or a consumer buying a product on Amazon or a direct consumer website, to a healthcare professional acquiring a new patient.
Okay.
So we have to understand the consumer behavior and like the things that we're putting out there. We have to get their feedback on it. If they're not responding to it, we have to change it.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Right. So like that's another angle, because they all trickle down. Right. And then the third thing is, I would say it's like just how you operate in operating feedback from like your like employees.
Yeah, big
And
time. Tom, you with us?